Hello back, everyone. Next presentation is going to be from myself about airspace safety in Switzerland. This presentation was created by Nina Mapes and myself, and I want to talk about how we legally highline in Switzerland currently, how we've been managing this over the past couple months and years, and in general present a little bit something about airspace safety when highlining. Lots of you have maybe seen these fabulous pictures from Switzerland. Here a shot from central Switzerland with three tandem sessions going on at the same time. What most don't know is that these highlines are actually registered and authorized by the authorities. So here's a general word on the regulation of highlines in Switzerland. So basically, highlines are aviation obstacles. This is not just the case in Switzerland, obviously. Special for Switzerland is that they have to be registered with the Swiss authorities, and we have the Federal Office of Civil Aviation, which is taking care of this. So in general, there's a definition. This is now for Switzerland. It's different in every country, in every region. So objects are considered aviation obstacles if they reach a ground height of 60 meters or more in urban areas and a height of 25 meters or more in undeveloped areas. And just to quickly show you what this means, in what is an urban area and whatnot. So there's a map on our government geoportal which shows this differentiation. So all the green areas are considered urban areas, and all the white are considered rural areas. So this is where this different height restriction applies. We started managing the registration of highlines in Switzerland over the past couple of years. We, for this purpose specifically, created our own club named or association called Swiss Highline. Swiss Highline is a member of the Swiss Slackline Federation and also a member of the ISA. Obviously, our main goal is to minimize safety risk and act as a representative of interest towards Swiss authorities, all highlining, of course. The way we have organized ourselves is we basically register highlines together with the community, so with people who are interested in having their highlines registered centrally. We have 5 coordinators which have regional responsibilities. If you're interested in knowing more about this, you can also visit our website. Currently, unfortunately, just in German. We're working on translation to all other languages. So these 5 coordinators register highlines for our highliners in Switzerland. Once the data is checked by the federal authority, it is uploaded to an aviation obstacle map. I will show this map in a second. Beside this map, we have recommendations for specific highlines which are maybe lower than 25 meters, that they should also be notifying REGA, which is our rescue service, helicopter rescue service, Swiss helicopters, which there's several companies, and also airports in the area of your highline. So this is something we have to do beyond the registration just to be safe. Especially this is important for exposed highlines. So sometimes we also have to work with establishing contacts with landowners, because basically it's not just an aviation obstacle, but it's obviously also we deal with access issues. This talk will focus mostly on aviation issues. Just for a general understanding that you know basically everything beyond 25 meters in the air does not belong to anybody privately or a company anymore in Switzerland, but it actually belongs to the federal government. So the air is authorized by our government. Just to give you an overview on how this aviation obstacle map looks. This is also again on our government's website geoportal map. You can click onto air navigation obstacles. Just search that in the top bar and you get this map. And I just want to show you like an example of a Highline that is registered right now. So I'm zooming in. So these are individual obstacles. This is like a cable car. And if I zoom into this, you can see this is obstacle type Slackline Highline at the maximum height of 30 meters, length of 155 meters. This is a perma rig, so this is up all the time. Because of the height, I will get to this later. There's no marking or lightning requirements for this specific line because it's fairly low at about 30 meters. So this is what it looks like on the map. This map is accessible to all paragliders, helicopter pilots, small aircraft pilots in Switzerland, so they can check this map. It's refreshed twice per week, and it shows you all airspace obstacles. Okay, but there's something, in my opinion, more important than registration. Even though you should do the registration, like one of the key things everybody needs to know is that for your own safety, the most important thing is actually signalizing highlines. This is more important, obviously, for exposed projects. This is more important in regions with lots of air traffic like the Alps. So like France, Italy, Switzerland, and Austria are some of the countries with the most crazy air traffic going on, helicopters everywhere in the air. So you have to know that even though this is nice to have a line on the map and the helicopter pilot could see it, the rescuers, they definitely check for these maps. But at the end of the day, also depending on the weather conditions, the pilot will fly visually. So he will check the sky for obstacles, and the pilot's eye is trained to look for orange objects, orange balls. And that's why, like, one of the signalizations we have to do officially is use anchor signalization at the ground height above 40 meters. We have to signalize our anchors with such orange balls of a diameter of 60 centimeters. We also have some bigger ones. This one is 1 meter for bigger projects, but for like officially 60 centimeter diameter is enough. So this is now anchor signalization for everything above 40 meter ground height. These balls, inflatable balls, they can be pumped with a bicycle pump or with a stand-up pedal pump on site, so you can kind of crunch them together in your backpack. Each ball is about 1.5 kilo heavy. You can carry it up to your Highline, pump it up, and have it hang near your anchor for helicopters to see. So we mostly have to deal with helicopters. Like planes are not that big of a problem unless you have a really big project. But helicopters, if they see one of those inflatable balls, they will automatically look for a second one. And they will know, okay, between those two balls, I should not fly. So that's how it works, the signalization. Then we have a further challenge. Officially, for everything higher than 100 meter ground level, we have to do parallel ropes with windsocks. With a maximum distance of 100 meters and a minimum of 3 windsocks. So this looks like that. This is a picture from Moleson, where we have 300, 400, 500 meter highlines, and we have to build these parallel ropes with windsocks. Here's some pictures on how big they are. They're about 1.80 m, I think about 30 or 40 centimeters in diameter. So this is all defined, standardized windsocks. We cannot just pick any windsock. They have a standard, the EN standard, and we have to buy those. They're quite expensive, and attach them to our signalization ropes and rig them parallel to our highlines. And then another further challenge is if the highlines remain suspended at altitude overnight, which happens very often, obviously, because like bigger projects take several days. We even have to make them recognizable to air traffic by night through infrared lights hanging on the line itself, or in most cases what we did so far also on these parallel signalization ropes. The reason for this is because rescue organizations, REGA, and our military fly at night, and they will not tell anybody where they go. They fly at night with night vision. So the pilot has night vision, the co-pilot has night vision, and they will see these infrared lights hanging suspended on our parallel line, so they know they should not go near that. The maximum distance between those lamps has to be 200 meters, and we have to rig a minimum of 2 pieces. The maximum we had to rig were 7 pieces of these infrared lights on I think a 900-meter highline. That's what they look like. This is like version 2. By now we have a version 3, which is even smaller. So they have a solar panel on top. It's I think a bicadmium battery, which is it's not as nice as a lithium-ion battery. You have to charge them on a regular basis, and yeah, they still can be improved a bit, but they're getting smaller and smaller. And we could not do this if we would have to pay for these lamps. Like each of them costs 1,000 euros and more. So we have a sponsor for this, Schranz Elektronik, which has been sponsoring us since years. They give us these lamps for free. We can use them in exchange for some media coverage and publicity, and just because they're cool guys. So thanks a lot to this sponsor. Like without them, we probably could not be rigging large projects in Switzerland on a regular basis. Here just a couple pictures from how these signalizations look like. On the right, you can see a picture of a 300-meter line in Western Switzerland with another way of signalizing the anchors. So instead of these orange inflatable balls, you can also rig one of those windsocks on a pole. That's another option they give you. But to carry up these poles is usually a hassle, so we usually prefer the balloons at the anchors. So this is a very typical flight path for small aircrafts. So they like to fly through mountain peaks. And what is actually technically really awkward for us is that they just have to keep a certain distance, but they're actually legally allowed to fly under us. And just that you maybe think, okay, I'm joking, but this has actually happened in the past. So airplanes flying below us while we had a highline rigged with a parallel signalization rope. Here are some other pictures from other projects in central Switzerland with those windsocks parallel to a 200-meter highline at the top of a mountain at about 2,000 meters above sea level. Okay, you can imagine there's quite a few challenges involved here. Probably one of the main challenges is highliners are not interested in bureaucracy. They don't care that much about registering or talking to authorities. So what we've been working on is trying to communicate about these issues, try to create a more transparent and easy registration process to motivate highliners to register. So this is our attempt to centralize this with the 5 coordinators. Something I have not talked about, but in Switzerland you have to pay to Highline. So For everything above 60 meter, you have to pay €300. For everything above 100 meter, you have to pay €400 per highline. So you can imagine that this is a big challenge for us. So far, quite a few, about a dozen highlines, maybe 1.5 dozen highlines have been paid in the past. So we already spent a couple €1,000 on just being allowed to highline. But in general, what this has done to highlining in Switzerland is that we are now searching for highlines which are below 60 meter height. Now, height is a fluid term, because height, you can just measure height directly straight down from your highline, and then side exposure can be still 2,000 meters, right? So the definition of height is basically connecting the two anchors and in a straight line, and then measuring straight down from the point of the highline. That's how height is defined right now. And so we have a system, it's called OCS, where you register, and this system is not really flexible. This is the job of the 5 coordinators. They have to work with this online database system. So it's not made for highlining, it's very clear. It's made for other things, for people cleaning out forests with steel cables, or for cranes and other industrial applications, but not necessarily highlines, which, as you know, can be rigged very flexible. So another challenge is that we have lots of projects that are being repeated. So I think we found some challenge just a couple days ago, a solution just a couple days ago for this, so that we can basically reactivate old projects in a simple manner. One of the biggest challenges is that we have to register 4 days ahead of the project. You know that weather conditions, especially in the Alps, can change quickly. So we have 2 solutions for this. One is so we kind of pre-register a line, and then it needs to be checked within a week. And then if we want to go for a weekend project and we're not sure which line we will rig, we have the option to register several lines and then just go to one. So we can kind of keep, but we have to define this on Wednesday for a Saturday, Sunday project. So on Wednesday, we can register like 2 or 3 lines, depending on the weather, how it will be, north, south of the Alps or whatever. And then you can just go to one project. So better register more than less. This is not really a problem. So Swiss Highline has some goals for the future, challenging goals. So we would like to gather all Swiss Highliners in this club to protect our interests towards the authorities. We already have and also will in the future try to simplify and influence decisions and guidelines on this national level. So we have regular meetings with authorities, and we try to gather all the active highliners in this club already, and in the board especially. Over the past years, we have bought and made accessible signalization material. We've been spreading this out to all the local groups throughout Switzerland. And we also offer, if you're a member, free one-way shipping to your location. Currently, we have about 25 of these anchor buoys, anchor balls, 16 flags, 7 infrared lights. We have 1.5K of rope, different kinds of rope. We have a winch. We have about 800 meters of taglines. So lots of gear that can be rented for free if you're a member of Swiss Highline. So this is interesting for bigger projects, obviously. Currently, this material is being shipped around Switzerland from project to project. Of course, Swiss Highline wants to simplify and help with the registration process and inform new highliners, and especially also highline tourists, so people coming to Switzerland. For this, as I said, we created this association. Currently, we define the member fee of 50 francs. So that's about 50 euros, 45 euros per year. And if you are a member of any ISA club in the world and you come to Switzerland, you can pay 30 Swiss francs, or I don't know, 27, 25 euros for year to also get all these services, so registration, signalization material, and of course we can help you with registering and all the bureaucracy. So what have we learned? So in the future, we will need a more transparent and easier registration process. This is especially important if we want to motivate more highliners to register their lines. For now, we have those regional coordinators. This works quite well. So I'd say probably about, yeah, most of the all of the big projects, most of the large projects are actually officially registered. So this is working. Easy access to signalization material is absolutely key. Otherwise, it will not be used. So the local groups have to have their own kit of signalization material, and only for bigger projects order the more advanced stuff. And then, of course, a centralized and coordinated effort helps just for our interests as highliners, but also provides a talking point for authorities. So they, like, several times per year, our board or these 5 coordinators get calls from the Swiss authorities asking about projects, asking about highlines that were illegally rigged, like who they belong to and so on. So it's very important to have this contact to the authorities so they can approach us if something is wrong, and we can try to solve this within the community. Otherwise, it can get really expensive, so they can fine highliners. It has not happened so far, but it's theoretically possible to fine anybody highlining in Switzerland. So this is a key to have these point of contact for the Swiss authorities, and they will contact us, and we usually found good solutions for what was going on. Okay, so this was my short presentation on highlining in Switzerland. I don't know how many have heard of these things happening. Check out our website, swisshighline.ch, and unfortunately only in German so far, but you can use Google Translator, or we will be translating it soonish to English, French, and Italian. Thanks a lot. If you have questions, let me know. Thanks, Peter. No question. Everything clear? You know how to highline in Switzerland now, huh?
Is there an regional representatives? How do you get to know, like, I mean, I think I know who it is in who to contact, but for those that don't know.
Who are the local coordinators? Is that your question?
Or how do you figure them out? How to get, like...
So it's on our website, and you just go on to register Highline, or in German it's Highline anmelden, and you get the list, like the overview of these 5 coordinators. We have them divided into different regions. So in eastern Switzerland, it's Ramon and Nina, and central Switzerland as well, and then also Andri, and then for Bern it's me, and for western Switzerland it's Liel and Guido.